G'day guys, my name is Lord Tomo. Welcome again to another Sonic the Hedgehog toy item collectible review. As we all know, this little blue star, Sonic the Hedgehog, he's wearing my Tough Mudder headband. It's only given to those people who actually completed the course, which I have, and yet you haven't, Sonic. Why? Why do you mock me in my achievements? We'll sort them out another time and get straight to the actual review. Now, I'll talk briefly about this because there is, I guess, a sizable amount of history and information provided. But this is the actual item itself. Now, a lot of you might not know what this item is, and to be directly honest with you, initially when I first looked into this, I was a bit, God-winded, if that's a new saying that I can invent, as to the actual item itself. Now, this is a, if I pronounce this right, akita harumichi design figurine. Now, just to grasp the concept of what this item is, and obviously the background to it, in Japan especially, they have a sizable amount of collectibles out there, one of which being is obviously this. Now in Japan they also have like Gundams, they have this, for instance, Bear Brick and whatnot. Now obviously Gundams, figurines, animes, you name it, they have collectibles for it. In video games there's a big craze, like in the US there's a big craze with video game collectibles and antiques and whatnot. In Australia, I haven't found an exact identity in terms of what Australia generally collects, but I suppose for the most part, we're trying to be more of a, I guess, coin-ish, militaristic. I really don't know, to be honest. I'm not that enthusiastic about the collectible world as a whole, but more or less specific to what I enjoy, which is obviously Sonic and Power Rangers, which I'll probably do something down the track as well. But yeah, this is one of the actual design, which is referred to an akita harumichi design. Now basically what it is, just like similar to my previous review, the Bear Brick actual series, it has a similar sculpt, pretty much like this. The only difference is they have an actual, what they market or what they go for is the actual clothing design, more so. There have been other series where they have different, I guess, poses or different characters, but they more or less, I guess, work on the whole marketing ploy of the clothing line itself. Now this is obviously the Sonic the Hedgehog version. There have been about, if I'm not mistaken, about 6 or 7 other of the same mold but different clothing, which I guess, obviously being a Sonic collector, I'm just going to collect the Sonic ones of this. I'm not going to bother so much with the other things, as I'm not into the whole miniaturized, fashionized little figurines. I've just obviously got this for this. So that is probably the general brief description of the actual overall design. Now there are, like, obviously the series, and obviously this series is the something worse. I did look into it. It's meant to say Crows X Worse, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. I could totally be wrong. And at the very bottom you have what it is, akita harumichi design. So this is basically what it is. This item is definitely a nice collectible, I must say, straight out of the bat. Not a lot of people probably know about this, and it is extremely limited as well, as like it was a special release, similar to the obviously Big Bear Brick. So anyway, let's go to the packaging. So already you see a small display of the actual statue. I will take it out to show you, but this is generally what it is. Yeah, at the very top you have obviously what it is, the Akita harumichi design. Pretty nice. On the side it has obviously a Sonic the Hedgehog. Underneath it, just a bunch of disclaimer, I'm not entirely sure what it is. And on the side, Sonic the Hedgehog. At the back is probably the most interesting, so I'll keep this station as much as possible. You can partially see a reflection. Designed by Sonic the Hedgehog, sculptured by Fumihiko I'm not going to pronounce that. Produced by Label Sales Agency and Akita Shoten. There's a support dial line as well. As to why you want to call a support line for a figurine that doesn't have any points of articulation whatsoever is beyond me. But I guess if you want to basically call him and say, hey, what's going on, man? I love your design. I don't know. So let's open this little puppy up and get into the actual design itself. Now, we're going to put this design and get straight into the actual back. Now, there is a backing for it, which I will take out and show you. Besides that, there's absolutely nothing inside it. Now, this is obviously to commemorate the 20th anniversary of Sonic the Hedgehog, and it says Akita harumichi Design 17 Sonic the Hedgehog Specialized. So yeah, that's the series. I think it's 17th series, or it's limited to a certain amount, and I got the 17th version. I'm not entirely sure. I'm trying to grab as much details as I can about this, but it more or less runs on those lines, more or less. So this is also to commemorate the 20th anniversary of Sonic the Hedgehog. They have stopped making it, and extremely scarce to find already. Thank God I found it. Already, this is the actual design. It's pretty much in the three-parter. There's actually 3 plastics. The first one you remove, which is the actual labeling. Not labeling, sorry, the actual base, which I will show you as well. So this is the actual base itself. I'll bring this as close as possible. Pretty nice, I guess you can refer to as tectonic design, if at all. This is the Sonic the Hedgehog specialized 20th anniversary edition of this design of the Akita harumichi. That's just a horrible tongue twister. And that's obviously, it says Sega, and I'm not entirely sure if you can read that, but it says 2002 to 2011. So that's normally referred to when this whole series, not Sonic specifically, but the whole series was more or less copyrighted. So it's been out for a small while. I'll put this down, and then we get to the little front bit, which is removed again. Now this is the actual figurine itself. I'll bring this in as closely as possible. This design, more or less, is trying to market on obviously their own brand, which is the obviously Akita harumichi design sort of thing, as well as capitalize the modernized, I guess, pop culture of Sonic the Hedgehog, and also glimpses of Sonic the Hedgehog themselves. Now, obviously, Sonic isn't a tall, blonde Japanese man. That looks pretty badass. He is obviously a little hedgehog. But obviously, this is a humanoid series, so for the most part, he will be humanoid. Now, what I like about this figurine, besides obviously the sculpt itself, is obviously how much of it pays homage to the actual Sonic the Hedgehog. I'll bring this in as close. First and foremost, you have his shirt, which is well detailed, which says Sonic the Hedgehog, and he has his eyes. Pretty impressive. Next, you have obviously his bracelets and his belt, which is pretty standard, I must say. But his bracelets are meant to pay homage to his actual gloves. The little thing gloves that goes, well, the little bobby thing, you can call it, for around the gloves, which is pretty alright. Obviously, the belt doesn't pay homage to anything, nor does the actual pants itself, as the pants just add to the fashion sense. He also has a cable, well, a chain there, which is alright. Now, the interesting thing about this is his shoes. If you look closely, it's red sneakers, which, as you can probably know, it pays homage to the whole red sneakers of the Sonic the Hedgehog universe shoes, which is pretty cool. It's classy. It's a nice design. And it's black, it's exactly the same, and you have obviously his trademark little symbol of Sonic the Hedgehog, which is kind of a modern take on the actual classic design and modern design of the actual intro of Sonic the Hedgehog, which is pretty nice. Now, it's more or less meant to connect, as per note, if I can do this, onto the base itself, which works like this. So basically, if you collected the other ones of this series, you can pretty much not stack them, but connect it to one another, and it looks pretty impressive on the table. Pretty well designed, to be honest. I do like this. Is probably a dress code that I would more or less wear myself. It's pretty modern, it's pretty casual as well. It pays respect to Sonic the Hedgehog, which is obviously a character that I thoroughly enjoy. So definitely worth a pickup. Now, in terms of we'll put this guy down to the size. Now, this is exclusive to Japan and Japan only, so don't expect this to be released in the US anytime soon. So if you're more or less trying to find something like this, I'll bring them both up. If you're trying to find, if you're more or less trying to find something like this, then obviously Japanese websites will probably be the best way to go. A Japanese contact of mine did manage to source one for me, and thank God to her I was able to get it. Now, this sent me back roughly, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was $70 at the time, which was a couple of months ago actually. So it's definitely a nice pickup as it is. Is it worth it? Look, if you're obviously a harumichi, is that his name? I'm now just jumbling words. Akita harumichi design sort of collector and a Sonic the Hedgehog fan, this is definitely worth its weight in gold. Obviously, I'm just a Sonic the Hedgehog fan, so I personally think it was a tad overpriced, but I can understand its variety already. So I can probably say, yeah, now, I had buyer's remorse then, but now it's totally sweet. Now, in terms of, that's obviously the price. In terms of rarity, look, I'm probably going to have to push this up to maybe 8 stars out of 10, simply because of a few things. First, obviously, it's Sonic the Hedgehog, 20th anniversary, limited edition, and only released in Japan, and from a series that isn't world known. So you can imagine with all those, I guess, subdivisions, it's extremely hard to find. Definitely worth a pickup, in my opinion. Now, overall, is it worth buying? Look, I totally, my personal opinion, I totally think it is worth buying. Why? Because obviously it's a nice design. There's no ifs, there's no buts, there's no why. It's an extremely well designed little piece. Now, that's pretty much all I have to say about this item, and obviously this probably won't get as much views, is because probably people don't know about it. But this is more or less just a showcase to the people who are currently subscribed the sort of stuff that is out there. And obviously as a collector, if I'm able to source another one, I will, and obviously have it as a giveaway. Now obviously this is more or less just showcase to people who currently either A, view my channel on a subscription base, or B, just pass by my channel every now and then, that there are some items out there that aren't always well known to the general public, let alone to the hardcore collectors. I of which was one of them, and you know, it's definitely worth its catch and gold. So yeah, it was released in late last year, and it's already picking up in value. So look, definitely have a pick up and go from there. And guys, thanks again for listening to me, even though it's such a long video for such a small item, but totally worth it. And guys, take care and peace.